Hi, you're on RESCU TV. I am very excited to share with you one of the most admired voices in health and well-being, Dr. Libby, who is the author of her 11th book, What Am I Supposed to Eat?
I love writing books, so thank you so much for having me join you today.
I think one of the most interesting conundrums, as you call it in your book, is the confusion around what's healthful, what's nutritious, reading food labels. But one of the things that's become very hot is elimination diets. And I would really love you to do some myth busting around elimination of whole food groups when assessing, your own nutrition and putting together a diet.
The first thing I would say, Baha, is that there's no one way for everyone to eat, and your body is your best barometer. But your heritage plays an enormous role in the foods that you are able to tolerate and not. So, for example, when I was at university, we were taught that everyone needed to follow the Australian Dietary Pyramid, and across the middle of that pyramid it says everyone needs 3 serves of dairy products a day. Yet it's so well documented in the major medical journals around the world that 98% of people of Asian heritage are lactose intolerant. So why would I say that everyone needs to follow that pyramid when there's a whole group in the world who have no enzymes to actually break those milk products down? So your heritage plays a role in the foods that you tolerate and handle today. Up until 1845, the major source of starch for Irish people was potatoes. And then the potato famine hit and they grew grains, really for the first time in their history, gluten-containing grains, wheat, rye, barley, oats, for example. So if we think back to 1845, it's only sort of 7 generations of people ago, and we, as a species, we don't evolve that quickly. So if someone's sitting in front of me saying they have gut problems that they can't resolve, they have autoimmune conditions, the first question I'll ask is, do they have Irish heritage? Because that gives me some clues as to what their digestive system has predominantly been used to dealing with. So heritage can guide us if we're suffering, but what I want to wrap this first comment up with is a lot of people blame food for a bloated stomach. Now, food, the processed food, the artificial flavours, colourings, preservatives, sweeteners, all the artificial substances that are so very new in our food supply, all those things can be playing a role in a digestive system that's not working properly, of course, but so does stress.
But I think more than blaming a bloated stomach, people, every second person seems to claim some kind of intolerance, and then they're eliminating a whole food group. You touched on dairy and gluten, but there seems to be, an enormous movement about eliminating all sugar. Then it was very popular to eliminate all fat. So I'm curious, as a scientist, as a professional and a leading voice in nutrition and well-being, what happens when you eliminate a whole food group if your genetics, for example, doesn't require you to do it?
There's no way other than elimination to determine if you're going to benefit from something or not, because the blood tests we currently have are only for allergies.
Okay.
So blood tests for an anaphylactic reaction to something is highly accurate and will give great insight. There's no blood test for intolerances, which is why we find ourselves currently in these very murky waters of people blaming foods for things for symptoms in their body that might not be caused by foods. So when we pause to think about it, if someone cuts out a whole group of foods and it's unnecessary for them, then they're going to potentially be missing out on vitamins and minerals that they would otherwise benefit from. What it also does when we just go straight to it must be food, I'm not denying for a second, food can cause all sorts of problems for people, but so can stress. So when we're running on adrenaline, when we're in the fight or flight response, the body gets the message our life is in danger, and it diverts the blood supply that's normally so fantastic to the digestive system away from digestion to the periphery, to the arms and the legs, because that's what's going to power us to get out of danger. Now, when you don't have a great blood supply to the digestive system, all digestive processes are compromised. That can lead to the symptoms that I think a lot of people link to food intolerances as well. So I'm not denying for a second that there are not foods playing a role in gut challenges and other other body symptoms, but stress is also playing a major role.
So to wrap it up, where would you get the correct information from? Because there's been a plethora of experts and some of them are really valid and well-researched expert advice, but there also seems to be a lot of general advice out there. Where do you suggest we go to for expert advice that's really going to benefit us and actually help us make better food decisions?
It's not an easy answer, unfortunately. So GPs do an incredible job with people's health. Their training, though, is not in nutrition. They get 2 hours of nutrition. Dietitians do 4 years of training in nutrition. Their science is incredibly robust and strong. However, the public's opinion is that they're lagging behind in their nutrition advice. So there's been, I think, a real lack of trust has developed there, which is very sad, and I hope that it improves. In Australia now, to become a naturopath, you have to do a degree that's science-based. I feel that that's heading in a great direction. But so where would we go to today? Where is a trusted source of advice? Because again, there just seems to be so many sources. Where do you turn to? You want someone who is very grounded in science. So an integrative GP is someone who's trained in conventional medicine as well as nutritional and environmental medicine typically. That can be a fantastic place to go. But I also think it's about the person understanding science and how the body works, because otherwise you can fall prey to nutrition marketing. There are a lot of people out there who are so well intentioned, they care deeply, but all they're telling you is what worked for them. If someone doesn't ask you an hour's worth of questions about what your life is like, what your symptoms are like, do you get sinus problems, headaches, do you use your bowels every day, what's your menstrual cycle like, what was menopause like, if people aren't asking you those questions, they can't really advise you about a way to eat. So finding someone, I think, science trained, who understands how the body works, who then has studied nutrition and understands that we can't fight our biological need for B vitamins, for vitamin C, for calcium, magnesium, for iron, for example, is essential. But as far as labelling that person right now, it's really tricky. The ground is shifting though, and I'm always very hopeful that we'll evolve to find a new group of professionals out there that are making a difference and giving people really accurate information. Just before I finish though, I can't help myself. I do think that so many people have handed responsibility for their nutrition over to other people. I honestly believe we can't all be nutrition experts, but as far as our own body goes, we are. There is a voice inside us that knows exactly what we need to eat, I think. There's a voice inside of us that knows when we need to go to bed, when we need to get off our emails. So I do think we need to tune into that voice inside of us. We might not always like what that voice says, but I do think we have an instinct with what really is right for us to eat.
Thank you so much, and of course we can get your book online and in all good bookstores coming very soon.